Good Sunday morning. Lawmakers are working to hash out their differences in the Senate and House tax bills, aiming to get a final product to the president's desk before Christmas. Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Maria Bartiromo. Welcome to Sunday Morning Futures. What issues are critical to a unified bill that satisfies both chambers of Congress? House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy joins me in moments. Plus, more potential red flags in the Russia investigation. One Mueller investigator reportedly attended Hillary Clinton's party on election night. Will this boost the idea that this investigation is conflicted all around? I'll ask former Attorney General Michael Mukasey, who will join me momentarily. And what's next after President Trump's decision to move the U.S. Embassy in Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem? Congressman Peter King on how it will affect peace efforts as we look ahead right now on Sunday Morning Futures. The push for tax reform now in the final leg of Congress. This is a big week. The House Senate Conference Committee prepares to meet publicly on Wednesday to finalize a sweeping tax overhaul. There are several key differences between the House and Senate versions, like, for example, income tax deductions and family tax credits. Joining me right now is the House Majority Leader, Kevin McCarthy. Congressman, it's great to see you.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Can you talk to us about the status of this bill? You've been leading this conference this last week and now into this week. This is a big week for you.
This is a very big week, but we've made great progress. Think of this. We moved to have the House come back in. We weren't supposed to start till Tuesday of last week, but we came in Monday just so we can move to go to conference. The Senate did the same, so now the conferees are named. It's the way the founders have created this country to work. The House and Senate have two different bills. Structurally, they're pretty similar. They're going to work out those differences. Hopefully they can get that done this week. We come back the next week and vote on it.
The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget is out with a lot of reports on the bill, basically saying, don't let December be the debt-busting month. This could actually cost up to $2 trillion. How do you pay for it? You've been looking very carefully on ways to pay for this tax cut bill. Where are you finding it? Is there any wiggle room on this 20% corporate rate, for example, that is being discussed now? Some people are talking maybe you raise it to 22% from the initial idea of 20%. That gets you extra money to go toward other areas like the state and local tax deduction elimination.
That's a place that we can always look at. But the one thing that you do, both bills only write it to $1.5 trillion. And remember this, if we grow 0.4%, you will pay for all this. The debt that we have is one of the most critical things we have to look after. But we cannot solve this debt problem without growing the economy. And that's why we wrote a tax plan that's pro-growth, creates more jobs, brings more money that's sitting overseas back into America, brings more companies that have left America back in to hire more people, and most importantly, puts more money in Americans' paychecks. Yeah. So I think we can achieve all of that, and this is the first step in taking care of the debt.
And I totally agree that lowering the corporate rate from the highest in the industrialized world is going to move the needle on economic growth. I got you on that. The corporate tax cut, very highly looked at as very strong. But the individual side, that's where people say it gets messy, because there are a lot of people who are going to get their taxes go up because of the elimination of the state and local tax deduction. So what I've been saying on the air a lot is, why are you lowering taxes on the people who don't pay taxes and raising taxes on the people who do pay taxes, knowing that the 10% of the highest earners pay 71%?
And this is a very critical part. And having come also from a SALT state, California, I looked at this and I went back. So the top 10% make $133,000 and higher in this country. So when looking at our tax bill, those individuals currently pay $2.54 trillion. The joint tax analyzed the bill. For those who are making $100,000 or more, they'll pay $2.4 trillion. So the numbers say something different, that they'll actually pay less. So when you lower the rates overall, everybody starts off with a lower rate, meaning they have to pay less. Now, when we close different items in there that you can make deductible, you have to look at the entire bill to see what you'd pay at the end of the day.
You're right now trying to lower the top rate on individuals, correct?
There's a couple things I'd like to do, especially coming from California and SALT. Inside our bill, we put $10,000 for property tax deduction. I would like to add income, saying $10,000 for one or the other, because there's some elements in California, because of Prop 13, you might not reach it on property tax, but your income could. could. I would also like to raise that mortgage rate.
You could put the $10,000 either to pay your property taxes or
income.
State and local income.
Other.
Okay, sorry, continue.
I would like to lower the top rate because I do not believe at the end of the day you should punish people for being successful.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying.
Especially in SALT. And you knowing that the 10% pay 70%, but it's also the consumption and the movement of an economy.
Right.
Now, the Senate already has a lower rate than the House. I'd like to see if we could lower that more. And then when I look at the mortgage, the House has one version of $500 and the Senate has $1 million. I'd like to see the Senate version make the House version go up higher.
So somebody asked me earlier, is this $10,000 deduction for property tax, could you do both, $10,000 for property and $10,000 for state and local income, taking that to $20,000?
No, I think what you do is $10,000 for one or the other, or a combination thereof. Remember what happens here, though, too. We double the standard deduction. So only 1/3 of America actually itemizes. Now you get to keep more of what you earn. An average family of 4 making $55,000 will pay 0 tax going forward. Mm-hmm. So when you look at the entire bill, AMT, now this is a part in the Senate bill I'd like to see removed. In the House version, we eliminate the alternative minimum tax. So if somebody was paying the alternative minimum tax and SALT, that actually is a larger hit on your taxes than before, so that saves you more money in the process. And in business, it would hurt businesses to keep the alternative minimum tax,
right,
which the Senate does, so I would like to see that eliminated.
So do you think you're going to get that?
Well, that's what we're working on in conference. These are some of the differences that we have, but we're in the structure overall are very close. I think we come to a solution very quickly.
Let me ask you, I'm very surprised that nothing was done with carried interest, the carried interest deduction there, because that stays. And that allows private equity managers, real estate developers, certain people, high-end, rich people, to actually claim that certain income is capital gains and get a charged 20% tax versus 39.6.
Now, it's not exactly the same as it was in the past. In the House version, they extended it out, have to invest longer and more years. So you're making a longer investment. And that's what entrepreneurship is, make a longer investment instead of 1 year into 3 years.
But if you've got the left basically saying, hey, this is a giveaway to the rich, and we know it's not. We know what this plan is, and corporate rates coming down is very, very important. But you've got this talking point on the left coming at you. I don't understand why you would leave carried interest deduction in there. It basically is for the rich. I mean, it's one of those places. What would that get you? $100 billion? What does that get you if you totally take that out?
Well, I don't know exactly what it would actually score at. I don't believe it scores that high in the process.
So it's not that much money then?
No.
Okay.
But the thing you have to remember, we focused on being pro-growth, making American competitive, simplifying in the process, and that's why you get the standard deduction. So come next February, everybody should check their check because their withholding is going to be better. They're going to get more money in their paycheck starting out. And if the majority of money, you look at the survey, that people are fighting just for $400 every week, this will make a fundamental difference. And those are the Americans we really were looking at from the very beginning. How do we create more jobs? When we rolled this bill out, we had a company, Broadcom, who had left America, announced they were coming back.
Yes.
With, repatriation almost better than anyone. Think of those trillions of dollars that are going to come back to America, invest in American jobs, and also pay out the dividends.
Yeah.
Every step,
I agree, yeah.
Every step we've taken with taxes where we've come closer, what's happened with the markets? How many times have we set a new record in this stock market, which I will say, based upon the move we did with regulation and tax?
Totally agree. Yeah. So is there any way this doesn't pass in the next 2 weeks? I mean, you're right. $6 trillion in market value. You've got a lot riding on this. People are expecting this to happen now. Now the market is pricing in a bit that we're going to have success here.
Look, I feel very confident we're going to get this done. I remember being on your show when we were worried about the Senate. You will see in the news ups and downs as we go, but at the end of the day, we're going to get this to the president's desk. He's going to sign it. And I've never watched a president so engaged. I was speaking to the Treasury Secretary last night. I talked to the president last week. He is engaged to make sure this happens because he wants to keep his promise to create more jobs and make sure that the middle class in this country gets an increase in their wages.
Do you think you're going to be done by next Friday, the 15th?
Well, think about how big of what we're trying to accomplish here. If we are successful inside the conference, I want to make sure you go through all the Senate rules, you cross the T's, dot the I's, you print it out. I would probably think it would be the week after when you would vote. We want to make sure people can read this. I know we've been debating this for years. We've had the bill laying out there so people can see it and read through it, and it's going to stay between the two. As soon as we can get it done, we will.
Real quick, before you go, you voted several times on moving the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. The president made the move, announced that he is going to do that this week. It's taken a while. Give me the history on this.
Well, the history is, if you go back to almost any modern history, president that was running made this promise that they would. This is the first president who kept his promise. But as early as last June, even in the Senate, we passed a resolution unanimously that would move the embassy to Jerusalem. That is their capital. It is reality. It's common sense of what you're able to do here. And if someone kept their promise, it shocked the world. I think this president is going to keep his promise, just as he kept his promise that we're going to get tax reform done.
Wow. If you get this over the finish line in the next 2 weeks, this is a huge thing for you. Congratulations.
No, don't congratulate us till we get it done, but we will keep working on it.
We will be watching this. This is a big piece of legislation and a great victory. Are you worried about 2018, the election?
You know what? If you worry about the election, you're not going to accomplish anything. Why don't you go accomplish things that you promised to do, then go back to the voters and show you what you're able to achieve? I think you'll get a good result.
That's what we'll be watching. Kevin McCarthy, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy there. Mounting claims of bias, meanwhile, on Special Counsel Mueller's team, with new reports of Clinton connections. Former Attorney General Michael Mukasey is joining me next on what this all means for the Russia investigation. Follow me on Twitter at Maria Bartiromo, at Sunday Futures. Let us know what you'd like to hear from AG Mukasey. He's next. We're looking ahead on Sunday Morning Futures right now.
The real gift isn't what's inside the box. It's what's inside the person who opens it. Give Ancestry DNA, the only DNA test that can trace your origins to over 150 ethnic regions.